now. Now, live, this is 8 News Now, Weekend Edition.
This is our president.
Supporters of President Trump gather nationwide for March for Trump rallies. Also,
there is an opportunity for Nevada for this to be the EDC of cannabis.
a cannabis festival continued here in the Silver State despite opposition from the feds. How it all played out, straight ahead. Thanks so much for joining us. I am Demetria Obilor. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, we want you to get prepared for this windy weekend. And as you can see from our cameras, man, things have just been blowing around out there, Katie. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And of course, those winds have been a strong component here for us the last couple of hours. It's going to be even gustier here as we head in towards our day. Tomorrow, stronger winds and a high wind warning across a large majority of the area. And that means big time concerns for blowing areas of dust and, of course, driving those high profile vehicles. That's going to remain an issue for us here as well. So that live look outside does show a few overcast conditions out there. We've been watching some shaky cameras though here since earlier today. Let's go to the graphics here, show you what's going on in terms of those advisories and warnings here locally across the area. And you can see here in just a second that those wind advisories are still in place. Guys, can we pop up the graphics there a quick second? That wind warning, there it is. You can see covering a large majority here of southern Nevada. Now that warning taking place early tomorrow morning goes all the way in through late Sunday evening for a good chunk of southern Nevada, southern California, and even portions of northwest Arizona. This is going to be a major impact come tomorrow. For now, still watching this wind advisory. That advisory takes place until 7 p.m. for us here this evening. We have seen already some very shaky cameras and some strong gusty winds. Those winds up to 22 miles per hour here in Las Vegas. Breezy in Henderson as well as North Las Vegas, but really increasing tomorrow ahead of this system that's moving in from the west side. We will watch those winds in some areas gusting up to 60 miles an hour. For the mountains, potentially as high as 70 miles per hour. More on that extensive windy forecast here at Demetria coming up in just a couple minutes.
Thank you so much, Katie. Well, tens of thousands of President Trump supporters rallied in cities across the country today to show they stand behind him and his policies. You're looking at rallies out of D.C., New York City, Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado. Yeah, the rallies also intended to show unity in the face of what organizers call a seditious fringe aiming to sabotage Trump's vision for the country. Now, according to the organizers' website, rallies were scheduled in some 50 cities, and including right here in Las Vegas. You could see it was no different as supporters gathered to rally outside of Trump International Hotel. That's where we find Brittany Edney. Brittany, what was the turnout like there?
Hey there, Demetria. Well, here in Las Vegas, dozens of people came together for the local March for Trump rally. And as you mentioned, they were happening in cities across the country today. Supporters came together with T-shirts, signs, and gear, all in support of President Donald Trump. And several of them told us that today is an opportunity for Americans to show support for the president. These types of rallies come after a week of nationwide protests against the Trump administration because of issues like immigration policy and health care. We spoke to one supporter who says even though the election was extremely heated and controversial, she believes it's time for the country to unite and hopes more people will come together in support of Donald Trump.
There's a lot of support here in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, because it's Harry Reid's hometown, a lot of us had to remain as the silent majority because a lot of the opposition party has done really horrible and violent things towards us.
A small handful of Trump protesters also came out today. We spoke to one man who says he wanted to make sure someone is standing for ordinary Americans.
Ordinary American working people who are being exploited by a capitalist system which serves the elite, which serves the corporations, which serves the war machine, and they need to be stand up. We need to stand up against them. Trump represents the wealthy corporations that rule America and rule the world.
Anti-Trump rallies were also held in some cities right alongside some of those marches for support. Back here live, while we didn't hear of any events getting out of hand here in Las Vegas, over in California, in Berkeley, there were several reports of at least one Trump supporter being pepper sprayed. Reporting live, Brittany Edney, 8 News Now.
Thank you so much, Brittany. Well, despite a threat from the feds to potentially intervene with a weed festival going on this weekend here in Southern Nevada, the Cannabis Cup is going on as we speak. 8 News Now's Mauricio Marin has more on why everyone's not happy about festival organizers' decision to cut back the weed at the Cannabis Festival.
Demetria, good afternoon. The High Times Cannabis Cup is taking place on Moapa tribal land this week, and we were asked to leave shortly after getting to the festival. But while we were there, we talked with at least one person who's upset about organizers cutting back on the pot at Cannabis Cup.
I think High Times have been really foolish. They've upset a lot of people. Some of my friends were going to be vending here from Michigan, and they spent a lot of money and they went to a lot of trouble, and it all got cancelled on them at the last minute. That isn't the fault of the federal government. Those rules have been in place for a long time.
So as crowds gather to get inside the festival, there's also been a debate brewing. Nevada has now made recreational pot legal, but a person can only carry an ounce on them. And federal prosecutors took a hard line in a letter to festival organizers this weekend, saying federal laws apply and pot smokers could be prosecuted. Some are defending the right to light up with Nevada's new law in place.
Prohibition has been in place for a long period of time, but we've won the battle, and because we have recreation here in Nevada, anybody over the age of 21 in the state of Nevada can have cannabis on their person, can consume cannabis in the privacy of their home.
Organizers of the High Times Cannabis Cup Festival say this event in Southern Nevada is now essentially a concert with music, souvenirs, and booths at the festival. However, we weren't allowed inside to check things out firsthand. The Trump administration has hinted more enforcement when it comes to pot because it is still illegal federally. This weekend's warning to festival organizers from federal prosecutors could be an indicator of that. Reporting live in the newsroom, Odis Marin, 8 News Now.
Okay, so Mauricio, what are state leaders saying about recreational marijuana?
You know, it's interesting. There's been some bipartisan agreement. Both Senators Catherine Cortez Masto, she's a Democrat, and Republican Dean Heller asked the DOJ this week to let states regulate themselves when it comes to recreational marijuana. So we'll see how it all plays out. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Mauricio. And while recreational marijuana is legal here in the Silver State, you still have no way of legally buying it. That's why a new task force has been formed. They now have 3 months to come with ways to regulate it and tax it. Yesterday marked the first meeting for the governor's task force. It's made up of representatives from the medical marijuana industry, law enforcement, and lawmakers. The 19 people involved had sort of a rocky start to the timeline, but one task member we talked to remains optimistic.
Since we're starting with such an excellent foundation, we can get it done in the time frame that we've been tasked to get it done in.
The goal is to hand in a report at the end of May, so the rules are implemented by July 1st. Well, tonight, more closures along the I-15 could impact your route around the Spaghetti Bowl. Starting tonight at 8 p.m., NDOT will be closing the right 2 lanes of southbound I-15 between the Lake Mead on-ramp and the 95 exit. Crews are working to repair freeway signs in the area. This closure will last until midnight. Now, you might want to start preparing for what NDOT is calling the big squeeze. From March 21st through the end of the year, crews will reduce US 95 to 2 lanes both directions between the South Rancho and I-15 exits. Now, all the construction is creating an unintended problem for residents living along the construction paths.
Now that there's so much construction going on, I think that it's forced a lot of the homeless to come back deeper into the neighborhood, so they're not necessarily on the major cross streets hanging out as much as they used to.
Residents in the area are planning to hold a meeting next week to discuss solutions and hope city leaders can offer up options as well. We now have more information on a deadly crash that claimed the lives of 2 pedestrians. It happened last night in North Las Vegas near Las Vegas Boulevard and Pecos Road. This is an image right here that police sent out. They tell us the 22-year-old driver lost control when he hit a man and a woman on a sidewalk. Police say alcohol does not appear to be a factor in this crash. Meanwhile, an apartment complex in central Las Vegas now working with $100,000 in repairs. This after a fire destroyed at least 4 of its units. It happened just after 10 o'clock last night near DI and Maryland Parkway in the 3300 block of Athens. We're told at least 2 people were taken to the hospital. 1 was unconscious due to smoke inhalation, and fire officials tell us at least 15 people have been displaced. At this time, the cause of the fire remains under investigation. Well, straight ahead on the Valley's news leader, the president claims his predecessor conducted surveillance at Trump Tower during the presidential election. The latest Trump tweets that are causing a stir coming up on the Valley's news leader.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Richard Harris Law Firm. News Now. Now, live. This is 8 News Now, Weekend Edition.
Welcome back. President Trump is in Florida this weekend working from the winter White House, but he started the day with a series of tweets making a serious allegation accusing the Obama administration of conducting surveillance during the presidential election. Andrew Spencer has got the story.
President Donald Trump made the accusation in the same way he's made many others, a tweet from his personal Twitter account. It reads, "Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wife." How low the former president has gone, drawing a parallel to the Watergate scandal and calling Obama a bad or sick guy. I'm Andrew Spencer reporting.
President Trump is expected to have dinner with Attorney General Jeff Sessions, along with Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross. Well, protecting and enhancing a Las Vegas waterway. Just how much progress the Water Authority and hundreds of volunteers have made to do so with today's semi-annual event.
It's the first. A monster the size of the city, covered in pavement and plastic cones.
Let's talk about another construction zone.
Devouring your time and driving you crazy.
Man, things are a mess out there.
You need up-to-date information.
Take my advice, get everything done early.
8 News Now's Demetria Obilor giving you traffic now.
Be extra careful out there.
Traffic Now on 8 News Now is sponsored by Ed Bernstein and Associates. Enough said. Call.
Also experts at cleaning tile and grout, hardwood and upholstery.
Now, live. This is 8 News Now, Weekend Edition.
Green Up Las Vegas. It's the mission of hundreds of volunteers along with the Southern Nevada Water Authority. Today, more than 400 people were out near the Las Vegas Wash planting 3,500 plants over 8 acres. The semi-annual event is the 30th event held of its kind and is a part of a bigger mission to help revegetate the area.
This is all within the Clark County Wetlands Park, which is a 2,900-acre park, and we are revitalizing it and restoring it to bring it back to a native state.
Since the event started, the group has planted more than 98,000 plants over 250 acres. If you'd like to sign up for the next event, visit the website located on the bottom of your screen. And what great weather to go out and do this, Katie. I've been enjoying it. I'm a spring baby.
Oh, yes,
my
you are.
birthday's at the end of the month. I've been telling everybody. So I'd expect my gift no later than
I see how it
10
is.
a.m. March 29th in the studio.
I see how it is. Well, you know, it looks like we're going to enjoy those nice warm temperatures for a couple days. Then we take a little bit of a dive down. Another increase. We call this the roller coaster temperature week here.
Emotional
looking into the next couple of days.
coaster weather. All right.
But look at this. The other big topic is our winds today. It is gusty, and it is going to turn even windier here as we head towards our Sunday. The second half of the weekend, actually expecting to see the strongest peak winds here locally across portions of the valley. This isn't just one camera. We've seen a lot of our cameras that have really been rocking around quite a bit. That's probably going to continue for the next at least 24, maybe 48 hours as those winds are expected to get even stronger. Gusts up to 60, and in the mountains, gusts up to 70 miles an hour for some parts of the Mount Charleston, Kyle Canyon, and Red Rock area. Now, I want to give you kind of an idea of what's going on. There's a look at current conditions, at least out at McCarran, and you can see right now those winds gusting at about 25 miles an hour. Those winds coming out of the south, sustained winds at 16 miles an hour. So again, already on the breezy side, but getting stronger and stronger here as the next couple of hours roll on. Now, here's a peek at those weather alerts right now. We do have that high wind warning across a large portion here of southern Nevada, portions of northwest Arizona, even southern California. However, this is all what we're expecting for our day tomorrow. So that high wind warning going to be a major impact, but just right now we're already under that advisory. That should give you kind of an early kind of precursor for what we're expecting here for the second half of the weekend. This advisory goes in place a little bit longer until about 7 p.m. for us, at least for the Clark County area, a little bit longer up for our friends in northwest Arizona. So there's a peek at windcast, and right now you can see those winds up around Mount Charleston at 30 miles an hour. Looking ahead, so this is again looking in towards the next couple of hours. Mid-20s for Boulder City, Searchlight at 22, those winds up as high as 24 for Prim. We catch just a little bit of a break here in through the overnight hours, and not everyone does catch that break. Mount Charleston will likely still stay on the gusty side. They'll turn real gusty here as we head in towards our day tomorrow. Those winds start to really ramp back up anytime after about 8, but there's 9 a.m. and you can already see those purples, those reds kind of popping up off of our map, and look how the day goes on. By 3 p.m., these are the sustained winds, 35 miles an hour, but areas like Mount Charleston, Kyle Canyon, Lee Canyon, they could see gusts as high as 70 miles per hour. Again, that being tomorrow before those winds finally start to subside here, heading in towards the early part of our work week. So here's that Mount Charleston forecast, because that wind advisory is in place through this evening, but that high wind warning covers a large majority of the area, including the mountains tomorrow, along with a very small chance of some snow up in the higher elevations, but the winds are going to be the biggest factor. Guys, we're talking wind gusts as high as 70 miles an hour. That means blowing snow up on the peaks. So that's going to be impacting your plans if you're doing any weekend skiing. At least something to be advised of if you're going to be up on the slopes, probably blowing dust down here in the valley. It's all part of this system, this low pressure system. It's a strong one that's moving into the Pacific Northwest. It's ushering that stronger gradient in towards our neck of the woods. That means, yes, a few extra clouds, but also some isolated light showers to the north of us. Really, the showers won't be a big factor. It does look like as we head in towards tomorrow, a slight chance for the mountains, but otherwise, we stay on the drier side. And look at that, our high today, 77 degrees. That's 10 degrees above seasonal average. It's just below the record a couple of degrees, but we're actually going to be on this roller coaster. Temperatures dropping before increasing here once again. Overnight lows tonight down to about 50 degrees. How about the rest of your extended 7-day forecast? Let's take a peek, and you can see that roller coaster weather. 60s before 50s, and then we ramp all the way back up to the upper 70s, Demetria, here as we head in towards late this next upcoming week.
Thanks so much, Katie. Well, coming up in sports, the Rebels look to keep the good times rolling. UNLV looks for a rare second straight win on the road at Fresno. That's right after the break from the Valley's news leader.
What is American beauty? Our landscapes? How about our wheat? One of the best in the world. American Beauty Pasta.
Henderson, the best city in the nation.
Good evening. The greatest coach in Fresno State in UNLV's history is the same man. Jerry Tarkanian ignited both programs to unprecedented success. Neither has been the same since he left. Both the Bulldogs and the Rebels look to honor the Shark by closing the regular season out with a victory. UNLV looking to win back-to-back games, which has been like a solar eclipse this season. Great ball movement, though, leads to Jalen Poyser knocking down the three. Great start for the Rebels, but it gets messy in a hurry. Jerron Hopkins with the Bulldog burglary and then the Bulldog bucket. Great finish by the guard. And then UNLV not staying close to the three-point shooters, and you got to stay close to the Bombers or you'll pay the price. Jamel Taylor torching the net for three. The Rebels trailing by as much as 16, but fighting back. Great ball movement again, swinging it to the corner, and Chris Clyburn cashes it in. Then how about Check Mbale, the freshman, not prominent on the stat sheet, but he makes a dramatic appearance with the slam, 35-24, the score at half. 2017 has been a year of surprises. The election, the Oscar Best Movie announcement, the least surprising thing of 2017, Kyle Busch winning an Xfinity race. The 87th of his career, that's an ongoing record. The Durango High School grad takes the checkered flag for the second straight year in Atlanta and then celebrates by ruining lots of tires. Well, he can afford it. How about number 4 Gonzaga? They begin their march to madness. The Bulldogs finished the regular season 29-1 and launched their mission to win the West Coast Conference tourney tonight in the quarterfinals at the Orleans. A key piece to Gonzaga's powerful puzzle is Las Vegas' Zach Collins. The freshman comes off the bench and scores, rebounds, and defends at an elite level. You can watch the Zags take on Pacific tonight at 7 p.m. We'll, of course, have highlights and reaction. And we all remember our first for Arkansas freshman Jonathan Holmes. His first bucket led to a frenzy, orchestrated by, of course, himself. Purists say, act like you've been there before. He says, I haven't. After the acrobatic shot, he high-fives fans and then blows more kisses to the crowd than Queen Elizabeth. Razorback royalty will gladly appear at birthday parties and bar mitzvahs.
Wow.
Well, and here's the thing. I was watching the Arizona State game right before our show, and that one was kind of an interesting one, too, especially every time they did a little three-point action behind. There was one guy that was literally rubbing mayo on top of himself.
I don't support that.
To distract.
So March Madness, how's your bracket going when you start making it? When you have number one?
We'll see. I'll let you know next week.
It's KU Rock Chalk. That's number 1. That's who we're going to see at 6. 11, actually.
Got your front delays got you down? No worry, because Toro